What are you laughing at, Connor? For some reason, he's got the giggles, folks. And I'd like to welcome you here today because we are Geeks Assembled. And we have assembled here today, yes, even Connor, we've allowed him back on, to talk about the very first season of Sarah Jane. And the episode we're going to choose is Eye of the Gorgon. Yes, a brilliant episode in my opinion. But let's see what these people think. The people I've got gathered here today, and I'm joined by Susan, Lee, Beef Dad, and yes, Connor. Yes. So let's see what our opening thoughts are. Just brief opening thoughts. Anybody who wants to speak first can do.
This was my favourite Sarah Jane Adventures episode. I like the whole setting of the nursing home, the old women.
You feel at home. Yeah, you feel at home. He feels at home. If you don't know, folks, they're right now. Yes.
Yeah, but the mythology around the Gorgon has always been the most interesting part of the myths and legends of the world for me. The story of Medusa. And it's nice to finally sort of see them in the Doctor Who universe. It would have been better if it was a Doctor Who episode, but, Sarah Jane Adventures, third best thing after Torchwood. Great little episode, 2 parts. The second of the entire series as well, so we're really just getting to, apart from Sarah Jane, we're just really getting to know the crew of Maria, Clyde, and Luke. So great story. I like the setting, as I said, the villain of the Gorgon. The nuns as well. There's always something really sinister about nuns. I think this really plays on that. So it had a feel of like a country house horror sort of story. So yeah, really good episode.
Yeah, and that house has been in other episodes, hasn't it? I think it's been in a later episode that I've just watched in series 2.
Wasn't that the same house that was in the Sontaran 2-parter in David Tennant's era?
Yes, it might have been, yeah. But it's appeared again in Sarah Jane. I'm sure it has.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can't remember which episode. Anybody else want to add their opening thoughts?
Well, you had some excellent performances in this from the old ladies. Phila Delore playing Bee, who had Alzheimer's, and
She's great.
Just absolutely brilliant. And of course, Doreen Mantle playing Mrs. Randall. I mean, Doreen Mantle is very, very well known in the UK for One Foot in the Grave. She played the friend in One Foot in the Grave.
Mrs. Warboys.
Yes, Mrs. Warboys. And Beth Goddard as Sister Helena was absolutely superb. I mean, she was probably the most sinister nun you're going to get, apart from the Abbess. But yeah, I did enjoy the special effects in this.
Yeah. And what about Lee? What about you for your opening thoughts, Lee?
I thought it was a pretty good story. As Connor says, nuns can be creepy in the sort of setting and the way it was set up. Very creepy nuns. And the Gorgon thing was brilliant. I enjoyed the law, brilliant performance. But for me, it just seemed to fly by. I was enjoying it that much. When it finished, I thought, it kind of gone a bit longer because I was enjoying it that much. So, but pretty solid story for the first season. Yeah.
And what about Susan? What does Susan think? Just your opening thoughts, if she can find a microphone.
I did. Well, I loved the fact that Bee's husband was an archaeologist, and he discovered this thing in Mycenae or whatever it is, and he'd always talk, and she'd always talk about the monsters, like and then she came face to face with the monsters. You know, she was she was really an interesting character, and this gave Luke a chance to flesh out his. You could tell he wasn't from planet Earth because he didn't know the unwritten rules of social interaction when confronted with anything. You know, just don't tell the truth. You know, be as you know unspoken as possible. All those things that were unwritten, he missed. And he missed it throughout the whole episode. I mean, all the way to the very end when you could see that he was going to say something to Maria's mom that yes, indeed, her father was turned to stone, but you could see Sarah come alongside him and go, don't say anything. Like, you know, it was just, you know, Luke was being so alien in this, and Clyde was amazing and super athletic and super, you know, awesome, and Maria was really, really cool, really brilliant, and of course Sarah Jane was perfect, as we know. Sarah Jane is perfect.
She's always perfect.
Yeah, so
isn't she, Susan? She's always perfect.
She's always perfect, and her sonic lipstick and everything about her is perfect. Anyway,
yeah, and you got your sonic lipstick there.
Yeah. So it's just really wonderful. You know, it was a really wonderful episode.
Yeah, and for me, like Connor, this is one of my favourite episodes of Sarah Jane. The Sarah Jane Adventures. I mean, this one has always been, and I haven't. I've only just recently watched it. I watched it about a week or so ago, and because I didn't know we were going to review it. I'm just going through the whole of the Sarah Jane series. So I'm on series 2 now, and series 1, it's just brilliant. It just has this. The Sarah Jane Adventures just has this feel about it. It just has, and I don't know really what it is. It's probably great writing, great casting, great acting. It's just everything molded into one. And this is one of my favourite episodes of it. And it always has been. And I'm glad it's as good as when I remember it, as when I watched it originally. It's just as good. And going on to characters, because we'll go on to characters now. You've also got Mrs. Warboys in it, who played Mrs. Warboys. She was great. I completely forgot she was in it. I completely forgot she was in this episode. She was good. Sarah Jane is just brilliant. Sarah Jane's always brilliant, Elizabeth Sladen. And I like Maria's mum. She is hilarious. She's funny throughout the whole series, but she makes me laugh all the time. And when she finds Alan as a statue, and then she goes and then towards the end of the episode she goes and gets Maria, and you know the statue's obviously gone because he turned back to normal. I just find her funny. Does anybody else have any favourite characters? And I must mention B as well. Anybody else want to say anything about characters?
Yeah, nobody's mentioned Mrs. Gribbins, who basically ran the home, played by Sarah Crowden, and she made her name playing parts like this, usually and most often in period dramas. Yeah, she was absolutely excellent. It's funny, but when I bumped into him at Time Lash last year, I was talking to Phil Collinson about Sarah Jane Adventures, and he was saying that this was one that they had an absolutely incredible cast for.
Yeah.
And that it was a real joy to do. And I mean, the thing is, you had Phil Collins and Russell T Davies and Julie Gardner were your executive producers, and directed by Alice Troughton. It's just an absolutely brilliant piece of work, and with an incredibly stellar cast. And of course, the Sarah Jane and the gang work so brilliantly together. And
They've got so much chemistry, haven't they?
it is incredible the amount of chemistry that they have. Even Mr. Smith works brilliantly with it, even though he's a computer.
He's pointless now, though.
Vocally, he's just brilliant.
But
Yeah,
pointless.
I do like Alexander Armstrong an awful
Yeah,
lot.
but I mean, the computer is over the top. I mean, it shows up with a fanfare. I mean,
Yeah, it goes. Yeah.
One name that Beef Dad didn't mention is the writer, Phil Ford, who is someone who has written twice for Doctor Who.
Yes.
And is one of those writers like Robert Sherman that you wonder, why is he not asked back more? Because he's only written 2 episodes, one of which is a co-write with Russell T Davies. And the other was Into the Dalek, which is probably the most imaginative use of the Daleks in recent times. So the fact that he's not asked back to Doctor Who more is a bit ridiculous, but the little gems you get of him, most of his work is with Sarah Jane adventures, but the little gems that you get of his writing, every episode he does is almost perfect. He's such a consistent writer, and this is just another example of his amazing talent for writing and just his amazing body of work, to be honest.
Well,
And,
Chibnall might ask him back. You don't know, do you?
well, I hope so, to be honest. And I think they've worked together before on things. I think Law and Order, maybe. But Alice Troughton, I don't think she's a great director. She's done loads as well for Sarah Jane. I think she's done a few Doctor Who as well. She's not related to Patrick or the.
I did think that for a moment when Beef Dad said Troughton.
Yeah, I don't think she's not any relation. So it's nice to get a name in that people recognise, but you just find out that they're not related. They're not quite related to what you expect them to be. So she's a phenomenal director, though.
I think Susan wants to say something.
no,
What do you
but
wanna say?
Patrick Troughton had 3 families, so who knows?
Yeah, she's not related. It's a matter of fact.
Anybody have anything else to add on characters? Lee, you haven't said about characters yet, have you?
Well, it's pretty standard that the full, the Sarah Jane crew gang is just on top form. You can't fault any of those. As I said, the B is it? Philip Law for me just stole it for me. Her performance with the dementia was brilliant. You could feel for her. Also, the performance. Well, it's not such a performance, but the makeup of the Gorgon was so good. So with the reveal, because you didn't have much performance there. It was just the face and the effects coming from the face. What the makeup on that is just awesome, brilliant. It's just got the feel of classic Who all the way through this. Just loved it.
Yeah, it felt like something like from the Damons or the John Pertwee era.
Yeah, I mean, it's the length. Yeah, I think maybe it's the length of the episode as well. 25-minute length episode, like the old days, what we used to have. So you've got a cliffhanger, yeah. So it just had the feel of the classic Who, and it's just brilliant.
No, go ahead, Connor.
I think I'll add this onto the characters bit. I was going to go into it later on, but usually with children's TV, you get a watered-down version of events. But here, I think including things, although it is set in an old person's home, including things like dementia and other sort of ailments that these old people can have is very interesting, because usually maybe they would just try to sort of swerve around that, because you know, the child doesn't understand it. But the thing about Sarah Jane and Torchwood and Doctor Who is that they always treat the audience, whatever age they are, as the same sort of intelligence. And that's one thing that really stood out, especially how well acted all those specific ailments were, like with Bee forgetting her husband, and at the end finally sort of getting some remembrance of her.
I was going to mention that.
Sorry about that, but to include that into the story and not sort of condescend the younger audience by just forgetting about it and acting as if they were in an all-person's home for no reason is an interesting directorial and writer's choice, I think.
But adding on to that, Connor, personally, I believe that Sarah Jane has more depth than Doctor Who does. I think Sarah Jane Adventures has more depth. Certainly. Because you've got real characters that do live real lives, and they all have problems, and they all go through things. And each episode of Sarah Jane that I've noticed actually has some type of meaning behind it. It's not just written as nonsense. It's always tackling something, tackling an issue. You know, there's always something there that it tackles. Sometimes you watch Doctor Who and you think, that episode, it didn't mean anything, did it? Just a load of old nonsense and a load of old shouting and screaming. But Sarah Jane, it feels like it's always written with real heart, and it's written out of, you know, when you look into the writing and you watch the performances and you think, this is actually written out of love. This is written out of love for maybe Sarah Jane as a character. You know, this is written out of love. It's not just written because they've got to write a script. It's written out because they love it. And they put a lot of work into it. And I think that with every episode of Sarah Jane. But I'd like to go on to favourite moments, if everybody's talked about the characters. Susan, do you want to add any more about the characters, or?
No, my favorite moment in this was at the reveal of the Gorgon turning that one who failed into stone. I just thought that was really intense.
Yeah, I have to say, I'm going to mention my favourite moments before someone steals them. Is Sarah Jane finding out that somebody else has met the aliens, Sontarans, somebody else, that moment, and how Elizabeth Sladen plays it is just brilliantly. She's so relieved because nobody believes Bee, and Sarah Jane says, nobody believes in me, and I understand. And I thought that just worked so well. And another thing, I've got to mention the ending. I know Connor's already mentioned it a little bit, but you think, oh, you know what's going to happen. You know, it's a kid's show. You know, everything's going to end up hunky-dory and everything like that. But it doesn't, because like Connor says, Bee does get to hear her husband's voice again. But that's it. She's still got dementia. If they'd cured her, you were thinking, oh, what they're going to do? They're going to cure her dementia and she can remember everything. Or they're going to pull the man back out of the hat, you know, when he's going to be alive. And sometimes Doctor Who does that. But Sarah Jane, in this episode, it didn't do that. You know, there was just a nice little, where she heard her husband's voice one last time, which I really liked. I'm glad they didn't get rid of dementia, because dementia doesn't go away. And that's real, you know. Anybody else favourite moments?
Yeah, my favourite moment was the moment where Maria leapt forward with the mirror.
Oh, yes.
Rebounded the rays, or whatever you want to call them, from the Gorgon and bounced them straight back at her to save Sarah Jane. That was superbly done. It's wonderfully dramatic. It worked perfectly. And of course, she had been given the mirror by Philip Delore, Bee, who was, she may have had dementia, but she made sure that she sent her off with the weapon that was going to defeat the Gorgon. But yeah, absolutely excellent.
Lee, do you have any favourite moments?
Well, one of them is the bully nuns, where they're not clad down and
Oh yes,
yeah. I mean, for me personally, I'd love to have seen the nuns just hitch the skate a bit, and if they're wearing bother boots, that'd have been brilliant. But yeah, it's just the nuns in that stole some of the scenes there. Yeah, all of it was quite good. Yeah, there was a scene in it though where I thought, that's a bit iffy. Where it was Claire and Luke, they were coming to rescue Sarah, who was held by the nuns, and they sort of seemed to walk into the arms of the nuns. You know, it was like Did you notice that?
Yeah, I saw
there's
that.
no criticism here.
No. I'm just saying, but I'm just saying, it just stood out for me in the scene, and I thought,
I'll boot him off. Don't worry, I'll boot him off.
Yeah, that was strange. I did notice that.
Yeah, I thought they were quite easily. They let themselves get caught. They just walked into the arms of the nuns.
That's one of your favourite moments, is it?
No, I'm just saying that's the scene what stood out because it stuck in my head. But all of it, all the way through was, you know, with Maria's father just walking through the doorway and just turning to stone. That was just an awesome moment there. But I've got to disagree with you on one point though, Alan. I mean, I might disagree with all of you, but one point I disagree. I can't stand Maria's mum. Sorry. She annoys me. I want to slap her.
Oh well, at least it gets emotion out of you. At least you feel, you know.
No, I have no emotion. I have no emotion. I am a Cyberman.
No, you're a Dalek.
Dare say that.
Exterminate. So what should we move on to now? I think that's all the questions, is it? Unless does anybody have any facts or anything like that? Any tidbits or any stuff in trivia you know about this episode, or?
Do you want me to find out some things for you?
Yeah, you can do. Yeah.
The Gorgon in myth was defeated by a reflection in the shield, as the mirror.
It was. Yes, yeah.
And I'm assuming those rays coming from the Gorgon are what they called the snakes.
Yeah, snakes. Yeah, they look like snakes to me. Yeah.
The building that we were talking about wasn't used in the Sontaran two-parter. It was used in Turn Left. It was the hotel they stayed in before the nuclear explosion that destroyed London. So that's
yes, of course it was. Yeah, when she went away because she got a letter or something to move away, didn't she? Or something, I can't remember. She was taken away, wasn't she? Yeah.
Yeah, to
it's been a while since I watched Turn Left. Yeah.
Turn Left is a stunning episode, but yeah, I digress. There don't seem to be really anything else apart from that, to be honest. Fact-wise, but you know, it was a great story overall. I think I don't think there's any real bad parts about it. To go to my favourite moments.
Does anybody else have any negative points? Well, while Lee brought it up.
I will agree with Lee that Chrissy, Maria's mum, is annoying.
No, I love her. No, I won't be having it, Connor.
It's interesting because she's an actress that I've seen before in things, but I can't quite put my finger on where I've seen her. And I also don't know her name. Does anyone else know her name?
No, I don't think I've seen her in anything. I know the next family with Rani, the mother was off Dinner Ladies, wasn't she? Yeah. And obviously the father's off EastEnders.
Yeah. Didn't the mother, the actress who played the mother, play Aveline in Bread?
I've never watched Bread.
I've never seen Bread. No. Anyway,
just keep it in the bread bin.
Yeah, she looks very similar to the actress who used to play her.
Very annoying character.
Anybody else have any negatives? I know what Susan's negative is. Are you there, Susan? I know what your negative is. The Brigadier wasn't in it. It could have been in every single episode. It could have been the Brigadier and Sarah Jane Adventure.
I would never be able to.
Cope with it.
I wouldn't be able to stand it if he was in.
She'd be in a puddle of water.
But I literally Sarah Jane Adventures saved my Whoopi from obscurity, and so that's a big deal that they brought the Brigadier back and that they were honoring about his service and gave him some awesome action shots for an older guy. It was just brilliant.
Yep.
And I love the way I love the way Sarah Jane Adventures adopts like the caliber of characters that classic Who used to have, and took so much of that to I mean, the Gorgon is a perfectly cool 70s character or 2000s character. Great stuff.
Does Beef Dad have any negatives? It doesn't matter if you don't. You're muted.
Not really. I mean, yeah, I will go along with Lee and Connor.
Will you? They'll lead you down dangerous roads, Beef Dad.
No,
Don't do it.
Maria's mum always got on my nerves. She sets your teeth on edge.
I love her.
And yeah, she did a few other things. She played. Let's see. She did an episode. I know she did an episode of EastEnders. She played Sharon's bridesmaid in 2012.
That's where I've seen her.
Yeah. So she's done a few bits and pieces. I mean, no, I don't think there's been anything massive, but
So was this her first big role then? Maybe.
Probably, yeah.
She was played by Julian Cohen. So says TARDIS Wiki.
And what's she been in, Susan? What are you there?
She was in a Big Finish. She was in a Big Finish Doctor Who story called "Come Die with Me."
Oh, how cheerful! You don't want to be sat at that table at the convention, Beef Dad.
No. Well, she's not going to be there at the. She's not there at the convention.
When is the convention?
October.
Because I think is the Sarah Jane one in July. Because there's a Sarah Jane convention in Cardiff, which is called the Attic, and that's going to reunite as many characters and actors and all that as they can to the series. It's raising money for charity, and it's also going to be in memory of Elizabeth Sladen. And of course, it's 10 years of Sarah Jane Adventures since it began 10 years ago.
When Lee was 60 years old.
Oh no, come on, Connor, we don't need to digress like this. You really do lower the tone. Upsetting members of the cast here. Fellow members.
I am not impressed.
No.
You are not amused.
Lee is not amused.
No.
Anyway, before we descend into chaos, let's go on to final say and score. And let's go to Beef Dad for his final say and score first. Go ahead, Beef Dad.
Very much enjoyed it. I can't think of a Sarah Jane adventure that I haven't enjoyed, and I've got them all. This had some absolutely brilliant performances in it, but for me, it gets a 10.
And let's go to Lee. Well, you've got the box set. How much did you buy that for?
Never you mind.
Because, you know, it's about 50 quid in HMV now.
Oh, I got it for a lot less than that. A lot less than that.
50 quid for that?
Yeah, 50 quid for that in HMV. I had a look.
What a bloody disgrace.
But there again, HMV does overcharge.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah, they're terrible.
But it's got to be. As I agree with Beef Dad. I enjoy every episode of this series, and this one, there's nothing wrong with it, so it gets a 10.
And let's go to Connor.
Yeah, Sarah Jane Adventures is a great show overall. I don't enjoy it as much as Torchwood. It's definitely better than that shit show we got called Class. But
I had to bring it up.
Yeah.
Lowering the tone again. I don't know why we have you on. Mention Class, you come on here,
But precisely
upsetting me about his age. I can only apologise to the viewers.
I'll give this an 8 out of 10. Good story.
No. Give it a 10. Then we can give it a perfect 10 then.
How can anything be a 10? It's not perfect. As I said, the mother character was annoying. That is enough to downgrade.
But mothers are annoying, so it's real life.
Good point, but
so there you go. So a 10. There you go. It's being realistic.
It's an 8 out of 10 for me.
Give it a 9.
I'll give it an 8.5.
An 8.5. There we go. That'll do.
I can't believe we're haggling on points.
Yeah, well,
you know what points make?
Bloody chaos.
Let's go to Susan. I don't know why I'm pointing over there. She's not over there. Let's go to Susan.
I don't know where you're pointing, but I'm really,
I don't know where I'm pointing.
I'm really glad that you're here.
I'm a traffic ward. I'm guiding the traffic. I'm guiding.
Yeah. Just
now we're going to do the YMCA while we're here.
Oh dear. Talk about lowering the tone. Okay. Just go down to in the podcast.
Sorry, Susan. Go ahead with your final say.
It's about perfect to me, so I'll give it a 10 because that's just the way I think.
Oh, the way that Alid wants you to think.
No. This was before you guys started. You know your.
Yeah, this
debate.
was before.
But really, there were lots of these 10s in the Sarah Jane Adventures. So I mean, it's just such a good show, and 5 seasons was not enough.
4.5, really.
4.5, yeah.
4.5,
yeah. It just wasn't enough.
It's so tragic because it could have gone on at least another 2, at least.
Forever.
I mean, yeah. Well, not forever, because Elizabeth Sladen will be 71 now, wouldn't she?
Yeah, but it could have gone on forever. She had that kind of freaking cancer, man. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, for me, I just love Sarah Jane Adventures. I just love every single moment of it. I mean, I'm rewatching series 2 at the moment. I've watched all of series 1, and I just love every single episode. For me, it's the perfect TV series, and it is the perfect show. And I know Connor says nothing can be perfect, and in a way he is right. But to get anywhere near perfect is perfect itself. Really, to be honest, for me, the Sarah Jane Adventures. Don't pull that face, Connor. I know what I meant. For me, the Sarah Jane Adventures is amazing, and like Susan says, it could have gone on if obviously, sadly, Elizabeth Sladen died tragically, and just taken it. And she was so young as well, she was so young. It definitely could have gone on, and it's really heartbreaking to think that she's not here, that we're not having more brand new episodes. We're not having a new series, even though we're about 5 years on from her dying now, aren't we? Something like that. And yeah, I just love every second of it. It's my favorite series of any television show of all time. I don't care what anybody says. I love it. And you know what? What's the highest number I can think of?
This was a great speech, but can you move it along a bit? Because we have.
I'll tell you something.
Talking about Sarah Jane. I like talking about Sarah. I love this series.
His speech is very, very reminiscent of Frozen. We're going down that route now, aren't we?
Let it go, Lee.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm going to give it a...
Two.
I'm going to give it... Wait there, because are we still doing the scoreboard at the end of the videos?
No, I don't think so.
Or has that been dropped?
Been dropped.
You might not be able to fit the number on. I'm going to give it 10 billion out of 10 because I love it. I love it a billion times.
10 billion out of 10. You weren't very good at maths, was you?
No. But we're only doing it out of 10.
You can't give it 10 billion and then say you only love it a billion times because then that is...
I love it 10 billion times. I said I love it 10 billion.
Yeah, you said that you'll give it 10 billion, but you only like it a billion times.
No, 10 billion times. I love it 10 billion times. I give it 10 billion.
All right, I concede. You're crap at maths. I'm crap at whatever else.
Memory. Memory and getting a girlfriend.
Oh. Well, that's from the guy that has to dress up as a woman.
And with that, we should probably end.
What did you say?
And with that, we should probably end.
Okay. Susan has spoken. And with that, we're going to end, because otherwise we're going to descend into chaos, and we're all going to end up falling out.
Me out.
Which we do anyway. You think we're having fun. We're not. We hate each other when we're off these cameras. We do. We do. We're sending shit for each other's letterbox.
Can't wait now.
Oh, it's terrible.
All right, we should end. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned next week for more of our fabulous podcast. What do you say?
What?
Like
Susan says, like, subscribe, comment, share. Tell us what you think about the Sarah Jane adventures, and we will see you next time.